is Adam Wolf, physical therapist. I wanted to share with you a little bit about some of the strategies I use when I'm working with people. As we know, the body is an integrated unit and muscles are a man-made construct. Today we're going to talk about the lateral flexibility highway, which is one of the 5 fascial chains that I typically think about when I'm working with somebody. The other is the anterior and posterior, and then we have the anterior X and posterior X. Together, in my head, a lot of times, those combinations of muscles between those 5 fascial highways control most motions. And so for me, I assess and progress and give people exercises based a lot of times on these fascial highways. So the lateral flexibility highway, or that lateral chain of muscles that we can think of, starts from at your toes, at the perineals, which attaches down into the first ray, and then it comes up around the side of the body. From the perineals, it comes to the iliotibial band into the tensor fasciae lata and lateral glute complex, into the QL, and the lat up into the cervical neck flexors as well. And so that combination of muscles controls lateral flexion opposite sides. So it can create same side lateral flexion. It's going to control opposite side lateral flexion. And if we think about people in our society, especially, we exist in the forward and back plane, sagittal plane. We can really improve our ability to move forward and back if we can go side to side as well. And so one of the stretches that I like to give to incorporate that lateral flexibility highway, I like a pole or a chair, or a pole or a tree, a door frame, squat rack, something that you can stand next to. What I'll coach them to do is stand next to it. I'm going to have them cross their inside leg over outside leg. Outside hand is going to come up. I'm going to pull with my top hand and drive my hip out. I'm going to push with my bottom hand, and I want to think about lengthening this entire combination of tissue together. Now this pushing hand I can bring up here, and I can isolate out within integration more of the shoulder or lat complex. If I move my hand down here, I'm getting more of the QL region. If I move my hand lower, we get lower in the leg. And so the variation in the stretch can come with where we're pushing. I also coach that we have a flashlight in your belly button, and a lot of times when people are stretching, their flashlight will be shining over here. I want it to shine out over that way as they're doing that. Okay? And that's really going to open up that whole chain. Other things I think about, both big toes I want on the ground, and my back leg, I like to rest in my front leg. That sort of lengthens out that TFL a little bit. What you'll see in people that have tight lats is the inability to lengthen their elbow a lot of times. That's what my experience is. So they'll sort of be like in this position and they can't dissociate to get long. So things that you can look for as we're doing this. Some people aren't going to be able to bring their hand up overhead, and so we can tweak this stretch by bringing your hand here, still pushing and pulling. Now we get a little bit of the posterior X, but we can progress this into a lateral quite easily. That concept of pushing and pulling is really important for me. Okay? From there, we can progress this because this is static. We can start to add a little bit of dynamic motion here. Maybe I take my hand and I reach up overhead. From there, I can go through a opposite side lateral lunge. I can take my left foot, I can reach across my body to the right, and I can take my hands and fall, and then I can lengthen that entire combination of tissues together. So we can take that mobility exercise and create a stability exercise simply by adding some external forces or driving our bodies a little bit more in space. And so that lateral flexibility highway is one of my go-tos in terms of stretching. What I think you'll find in fast walkers, runners, bikers, any of those things that require forward back swimmers, is that you're going to be able to improve their outcomes if you can start moving side to side. And so I would suggest you try that. From here, a progression would be I can do a pivot. So I can take my left foot and I can fall to the left and do a lunge. So a left foot, same side lateral lunge. And then I can take my left foot and I can go opposite side lateral lunge. And when I go from one end to the other, that becomes a pivot, according to the Gray Institute. And so any of these exercises can be progressed or regressed quite easily. I also personally, as a body worker, put my hands on people a lot as they're going through some of these motions to see where do I maybe feel a little bit of the tension come into their tissue. What I've found clinically oftentimes is that it will be different one side of the body to the other, and so then we can take that exercise and make it a body work or specifically work a region to improve that local tissue extensibility. And so that lateral flexibility highway is real important. If you haven't checked it out, go ahead and try it. Find my website at adamwolfpt.com for more information. Thanks.